What is up, my friends? You are very welcome along. The weekend has officially started. It is Friday night's late night agenda, and as always, we have a packed show for you. We're going to be talking about Trent Doherty and his move over to Molde in Norway. We'll be giving you some words from Arne Slot from his press conference ahead of the West Ham game tomorrow. The big breaking news from that press conference is that unfortunately Florian Wirtz's back injury is one that keeps him out, and we don't know when he's scheduled to return. I'll tell you what the managers had to say. We'll talk about Georgi MAMARDASHVILI and apparently him being unhappy at the lack of game time he's getting at the Reds. There's been some suggestions that he could look for a loan move away in the summer, and lots more, including, of course, reaction to the Champions League draw. So, my friends, have at it in the comments. Delighted to say the comments are back working as they should. Thank you, as Mark mentioned as well in the chat, to everyone that joined Connor earlier on for the Champions League stream as well. And straight away I see there, Grizzly gifted 10 Anfield Agenda memberships. Absolutely legend, bro. Thank you. So, I think, look, we should probably get stuck into the Champions League draw, shouldn't we, to kick us off tonight, ladies and gentlemen. So the dates for Liverpool's round of 16 ties now being confirmed. The away leg will be an early kickoff, so 5:45 p.m. on Tuesday the 10th of March. The Reds travel over to Istanbul to take on Galatasaray. The home leg, that will be Wednesday the 18th of March with an 8 p.m. kickoff. And then, of course, we'll talk about the Reds' potential pathway through to Budapest. I think it's fair to say, ladies and gentlemen, the left side of that Champions League draw is looking far more stacked than the right-hand side. Left side, I think it's a total of 31 Champions League trophies between them. Right side, well, Barcelona doing the heavy lifting over there with just 5 Champions League victories or European Cup victories coming from the right-hand side of the Champions League draw bracket. Arsenal, well, they've got a fairly straightforward pathway through. A lot better than the one we got for winning the league phase last year anyway. They end up with a reasonable tie to take them through, whereas the Reds, well, we end up with Paris Saint-Germain. I don't need to remind you of that one. So let me quickly take you through all the ties in the Champions League round of 16 draw, just in case you haven't yet seen it today. The top of the draw looks like this. Paris Saint-Germain will take on Chelsea. Then it's Galatasaray against Liverpool. Real Madrid and Manchester City will lock horns once again in the Champions League. They must be sick of the sight of each other. The bottom half of our draw, or the bottom part of our draw, I should say, is Atalanta, of course, from Italy, taking on Bayern Munich. Then we move on to the right-hand side. Newcastle, well, they get Barcelona to take care of, so that'll be an interesting tie over 2 legs. Then comes the other possible opponents for us, Atletico Madrid. They're taking on Spurs. Then Bodo Glimt and Sporting Lisbon, and Arsenal take on Leverkusen. Can we see, well, Jarell Quansah do bits there perhaps and knock Arsenal out? So what do we think of the draw? I mean, if we get through to the quarterfinals, we will have the second leg of that at home, which is, again, something positive to be looking forward to. I guess the downside of it would be we're looking at either Paris Saint-Germain or Chelsea should we get through. And I don't know about you guys, but I would much rather play PSG again. I don't like playing English clubs in the Champions League. I don't. I'd like to avoid them where possible. And also, let's be honest, there's a bit of revenge to be had there against Paris Saint-Germain. So I think I'm going to make the prediction that is where we will be playing our semi-final or quarter-final against Paris Saint-Germain. I think they'll get through over against Chelsea over 2 legs, even with the second leg being at Stamford Bridge. So yeah, what are we saying to the draw? Happy enough with it or frustrated? You know, would you have preferred Atletico Madrid or Galatasaray? I mean, we'll ask you guys that, but get to chatting and we'll get to talking. So let's get stuck into it. Right, what have we got? A Newcastle game will be on the Amazon Prime one, said Mark. Thank you, Mark, for that one. What else we got? We can still win the FA Cup. We can still win the Champions League, you know. Come on, it's not over yet, bro. Don't be giving up on us. It's a difficult pathway through. There's no denying that. The left-hand side of the draw, Ian, certainly more difficult. But, you know, I wouldn't be thrown in the old, or hoisting the white flag, I should say, just yet. But it is a tough side of the draw. There's no denying that. But think about it this way. If you manage to get through the left side of the draw, you're going to be battle-hardened and ready, aren't you, for the Champions League final? Because Liverpool, if we're to make it there, will have beaten Galatasaray, one of Chelsea and Paris Saint-Germain, and then one of Bayern Munich, Atalanta, Real Madrid or Manchester City. So certainly won't be an easy pathway through. But if you get into the final, you're going to have done it the hard way. So whoever gets through on our side of the draw, they do deserve credit because it's a difficult task. Pulsating Gain said, I would have preferred Atletico because of the side of the draw. Yeah, I get you. I totally get where you're coming from. You know, Barcelona in a potential quarter-final, I'll be honest, I wouldn't have feared them. I've said this before, and I don't think Arsenal will be fearing them either. One of the lads in our Discord group actually thinks that Newcastle could beat Barcelona because of the high line that Barcelona play with Hansi Flick and the pace that Newcastle have. The likes of, obviously, Anthony Elanga, Anthony Gordon, Johan Visa. So, yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting one. When I woke up today and I looked at my phone, I was fully expecting it to say Liverpool taking on Atletico Madrid, but I'm not disappointed. Galatasaray is as Victor Osimhen said, it's going to be a revenge mission for the Reds, isn't it? Right, so we have a poll running tonight, ladies and gentlemen. The first poll of the night we're asking you for is around the goalkeeping situation. So let me give you some context to it. But the poll that we've asked is, should Georgie be getting more minutes? The reason why I asked this is there's a report that came out this evening from Team Talk, and it said, second choice Liverpool goalkeeper Georgie MAMARDASHVILI is seriously considering requesting to leave on loan in the summer. The giant Georgian is growing increasingly frustrated with life as understudy to Alisson Becker at Liverpool. Despite his reputation as one of Europe's most promising young goalkeepers, MAMARDASHVILI has been finding opportunities limited at Anfield. So what do we think about that one? Because it's yet another player, seemingly, that Arna has annoyed by not giving him minutes or opportunities. And I want to talk about our manager again a little bit later on because he's been just talking shit again. So I want to talk about that in a while. But on Georgie, outside of maybe the FA Cup, I'm not really expecting much more with regards to minutes for him. We were all a little bit surprised that he didn't get a chance in the FA Cup. But other than that, once you're out of the League Cup, I didn't really expect him to get too many more opportunities outside of Alisson picking up an injury. I guess the real question comes with what happens with Alisson. Will he depart this summer? Will he see out his contract and go in 2027? Because if Alisson was to go in the summer, just say something happened and he went, I don't feel confident yet that Georgie's the guy to step in and hit the ground running. We haven't had a chance to see enough of him to make that decision. Totally not Wellington, how are we? Hi Craig, been very quiet without football games. Just watched Death of Stalin for the first time. Hilarious. Never seen it. But yeah, it's been a weird month. February has been such a weird month. It's I'm glad to see the back of it, to be honest with you. It's been a crazy quiet one around Liverpool and content in general. So yeah, I'm looking forward to the Reds being back in action tomorrow. This one game a week malarkey, I don't like it. You get spoiled with 2 games a week. So, but here's one for you. You often hear me talking about Jones Knows, who does the predictions on Sky Sports. So he goes through and he gives the predictions for all the Premier League games. He has West Ham to beat Liverpool tomorrow. I know, I had to double take when I seen it, but yeah, he has West Ham to come and beat us. He reckons that Jared Bowen in transition will cause us all kinds of trouble as well with Crescencio Somerville. So let me know your thoughts on that one. I mean, I'm mentally sort of preparing for a relatively easy afternoon tomorrow. Maybe I've got this one all wrong, but for me, I think this should be straightforward for the Reds. But I don't know. Apparently, those in the know think differently. Jaden said that draw was literally Champions League one side versus Europa. Yeah, it is a very lopsided draw, Jaden. There's no denying that. But it also, it is what it is, mate. You've got to beat the best to be the best. So for me, I don't mind the pathway through. Would have obviously been a lot handier on the right hand side. But ultimately, if we want to get there, I don't mind us having to play Paris Saint-Germain again if we get to the quarterfinal because we owe them one. And the second leg will be at Anfield. And here's what I don't want to hear. If we get through and we play Paris Saint-Germain, if they get past Chelsea, can somebody just put a gag on Arna and just tell him not to talk? Don't mention Paris Saint-Germain. Don't gloss them. Don't, fluff them. Just shut the fuck up and say you want revenge. Because that's all we want to hear as fans, Arna, I promise you. Is that we want revenge for getting beaten by them last year. That's all we want to hear. Not how great they are, not how you idolise Enrique or you love their style. Just say you want to win because they knocked us out last year and you want to set that right. And everybody be happy with it. And I'll move on to speak a little bit about our manager and some of his talks, some of his comments a little bit later on. Dave said, Craig, depends if we turn up. That's the great unknown, isn't it, Dave? At the minute with Liverpool, you don't know which version of Liverpool is going to show up. So, yeah, I totally get you. There's no excuse though, Dave. And I think you'd agree with me on that one, bro. There's no excuse because, we've had, again, 6 days now to prepare for this one. so we should be ready to hit the ground running. We didn't show up in the first half against Nottingham Forest, and we absolutely got away with one there, but, let's hope we do tomorrow. We're at home. So I have had to make a change to my predicted 11, and I'll walk you through it in a moment. I do have a graphic to bring it up on screen for you. Scott Engerson, thank you so much, Scott, for gifting 10 memberships. Very kind of you, bro. Thank you so much. That's really appreciated. Grizzly, how are we, dude? Said, at least with that draw, we shouldn't see a low block. I like what you've done there, sir. I like what you've done there, Grizzly. Yes, we shouldn't. You're right. I'm intrigued by the idea of having a battle against Paris Saint-Germain again in the quarters. Now, look, it's probably a little bit blasé of me to look past Galatasaray already. But look, I'll be honest, they're not very good. They aren't. And I know they beat us 1-0 over there, but it was a shithouse of a game. The referee didn't keep control of it. We just weren't at the races. The game was so stop-start, and we need a strong referee. But apart from that, I think we'll turn them over 2 legs. Second leg being at Anfield will be a big help to us as well. You go over there, you take a draw. I would. You could win over there, but I'd take a draw, bring it back to Anfield, hopefully beat them, and then see what happens with the Paris Saint-Germain-Chelsea game. See, there's one way to look at this, right? Yes, our side of the draw is tricky, but there's also going to be a lot of big teams taking each other out. So one of Manchester City and Real Madrid are gone. We know that for a fact now because the draw's been made. Then, the winner of that game will take on most likely Bayern Munich. So that'll be another one of those 2 strong teams gone. So that, it's taking care of itself. We just have to make sure we do our part and get past Galatasaray. So, I wanted to just give you a revised predicted 11 because, of course, none of us expected to hear the news that Florian Wirtz is ruled out of the game. I'll give you a little bit from what Arne had to say on it, and then I'll talk you through the changes that I've made to my predicted 11. So, let me just get you the manager's words on this one. So, Arne said, Liverpool boss Arne Slot says Jeremy Frimpong is back and available for Saturday's Premier League game at West Ham. This is on Sky Sports. Frimpong has been sidelined for the past month with a hamstring injury, but has returned to training. That'll be a relief for the Liverpool boss, who has to look for alternatives at right back with Conor Bradley injured. He goes on to say, however, there was less positive news on Florian Wirtz, who limped out of the warm-up ahead of Liverpool's win at Nottingham Forest last weekend. Arne Slot said he doesn't know when the German playmaker will be back, but he will miss the West Ham game. This is a direct quote then from Arne, who said, I don't expect Florian to be available. That's a disappointment, of course, and something I didn't expect after last week. At this moment in time, I don't know how long he's out for. So, we don't know. It's gone from a minor little strain in the warm-up to a week later him still not being able to play and missing it, and the manager not knowing when he's back. This is a trend at Liverpool Football Club, and I don't know how we got to this position where all of a sudden, how many injuries over the past year or two that you can think of, maybe even 3, have gotten from the point of it doesn't look too bad to all of a sudden it being worse than expected and the player out for a prolonged period. So all of that taken into account, I did have to redo my predicted 11, and I'm going to take you through it now in a moment. Was Trent Doherty good before he left or no? He is a promising young player. Whether he'll get to the level for Liverpool or not, we'll wait and see. See how he gets on at Molde. We do have a buyback option in it. I'll talk about that in a little moment, Jaden. But I just want to stick with the 11 for this one, because obviously with Wirtz being out, my preview was already now obsolete. So we've gone through and we've done up another lineup. And here you go. On the screen there now is my new predicted 11 for the game against West Ham. So Alisson Becker in goal for me. Then Joe Gomez, Ibrahima Konate, Virgil van Dijk and Milos Kerkez. That would be my back 5. My midfield, Ryan Gravenberch, Alexis McAllister and Dominic Szoboszlai. Then I've put Rio Ingamoa on the left, Ekitike through the middle. And I've gone for Salah on the right, because ultimately I think it comes down to you make a decision whether you go with Salah or Gakpo, or that you try to shoehorn Curtis Jones in. So for me, I thought, look, Salah wasn't good last week. I'm not trying to say that he was, but needs must and all that. So for me, I've gone, let's put Salah on the right, Ekitike through the middle, and Rio on the left. So let me know what you think about that one. But yeah, that's what I've kind of come up with now that we know that there's no Wirtz. Now, if Cody Gakpo and Mohamed Salah start this game, I'm not going to lie, I'd probably avoid the first 15 minutes of the watch-along if the team news breaks and they're both in the starting 11, because it won't be pretty on here. Just putting it out there, it won't be, because if there's anything about this coach, anything whatsoever, Rio starts to this game. Isak versus PSG, 2 goals. Will hit like nothing else. Oh, it'd be a lovely Sonder, mate. It'd be lovely. It would. It'd be absolutely lovely if he could find his way back into the team just at the right time there, fit, firing, to start bagging a few against PSG. I wouldn't say no. Jaden said, I don't blame Georgie. I, for one, am excited to see him. Yeah, it was disappointing. Definitely, Jaden, disappointing that he didn't play in the FA Cup. But, you know, that is the manager's choice. Nothing we can really do about it as fans. But, you know, from our perspective, I can understand the uncertainty about knowing whether Georgie is ultimately going to be good enough as the long-term successor to Alisson. We haven't just seen enough of him yet, so I'm still on the fence on it. I said when we signed him, I totally understand why you signed him. He's a brilliant shot stopper, a potential great goalkeeper in the making. It's just a matter about, you know, bringing him through, and that kind of leads me into the conversation about the manager again. You know, is there anybody he doesn't piss off at the club? Anybody? You know, younger players heading out the door because they're not getting minutes. It's just, he's starting to really frustrate me, ladies and gents. He is. And to know, you're sitting there and you're seeing Jones' nose on Sky predicting West Ham to come and beat us at Anfield. That's that feels shitty. That they think because we can transition well, that West Ham, who are horrendous, are going to come and beat us. I mean, yeah, that's how little faith there is in this Liverpool group at the minute. And, of course, that 45 minutes in the first half against Nottingham Forest last week was nothing short of unacceptable. So, that's my 11 anyway, as I said on the screen. Alisson, Gomez, Kanade, Van Dijk, Kirkes, midfield, Gravenberg, McAllister, Dominic Szoboszlai. I've gone for Rio on the left, Salah on the right, and Ekitike through the middle. But let's wait and see what Arne does, because as many of you have said, will he play him? Do you think he will? I mean, I dare to say you're probably right, those of you who think Gakpo's going to start, but, you know, I don't know what more we have to see before he starts giving Rio a chance. That meme guy said there is no Alisson successor because most younger players or goalkeepers is a form of roulette, especially looking for an Alisson replacement. Sort of roulette, yes, but you can tell the characteristics of a goalkeeper. The part that surprised me when we signed MAMARDASHVILI wasn't his shot stopping, wasn't his presence, wasn't his aerial ability. It was probably what you're expecting me to say, the distribution. Watched quite a bit of him at Valencia, actually, and good and bad, sometimes absolutely phenomenal, but distribution for us, which is a big part of how we used to play anyway, that there's no comparison between him and Alisson Becker. So I wonder if football may be starting to move away from wanting to play goalkeepers as sweepers almost, because you've seen Manchester City and Pep Guardiola bring in Paris Saint-Germain's Gianluigi Donnarumma, so kind of change the direction there from Ederson. Ben said, I think Georgie is going to be good, but unfortunately the timeline with Alisson just isn't quite matching up how the club thought it would. Yeah, I think that's a good shout, Ben. I think you're not too far off there, mate. It's a difficult one. Simon Kelleher was here before. You know, you've got this absolute superstar in Alisson Becker, who we will all say has been a huge part of our success, reason for our success over the past decade or so. Just absolutely unbelievable. So to willingly say I'm going to put him on the bench, I get it's a tough decision for the manager, you know, because if you're going into a game and you're feeling pressure as a coach, you are going to go to the ones that you think are going to perform well. And Alisson Becker is somebody who more often than not performs well. So if you want to give yourself every advantage, I can totally understand that it's a difficult decision for Arne, but ultimately, why are we at the position where he's not playing him in the FA Cup? Well, you can only think that comes from pressure. And the pressure for Liverpool to succeed. Now, this again is why I go back to the League Cup being a stupid decision to throw away that competition, because that was minutes for youngsters and minutes for Georgie MAMARDASHVILI we could have had out the window. He did play him, I think, if my memory's right, I think he played him in the third round of the FA Cup. But obviously for the fourth round, changed it up against Brighton and went for Alisson. David, so the only good thing about your Champions League draw is that Slot has no chance of pulling a miracle out, so hopefully he's gone to the end of the season. I mean, yes and no. If you look at the draw, really, I don't know, maybe I'm being overly optimistic as a Liverpool fan here, but if you look at the draw, Chelsea, PSG, whoever gets through there, it's going to be a toughen up game, but not mission impossible. Not at all. Not with the second leg at Anfield. It's when we get to the semi-final, and the second leg I think would be away from home, that it looks tricky. Because then you're going to have whoever manages to come through from Real Madrid, Manchester City, Atalanta and Bayern Munich. But honestly, outside of City, I think we beat all of them. I really, really do. And I'm not saying we don't beat City, but I'm saying it's a close game. I think we could get the better of Bayern Munich. I really do. I'm not saying it's a given, but I wouldn't be sitting here petrified. It's just, it doesn't feel like a year where there's many great European sides. And I'd probably include us in that, of course, because we've been all over the shop this year. But if, again, it comes down to which Liverpool shows up, and if the best Liverpool shows up, we have every opportunity. You would imagine, right, let's play it out a bit. If Liverpool get through Galatasaray and let's say we got PSG, if you can beat Paris Saint-Germain over 2 legs, that would absolutely instill confidence in these players heading into a semi-final. You know, the team that were the defending champions, the team that knocked you out last year, if you can find a way to get past them, that'll put you in good stead and a good mind frame to go to the semi-final. But, you know, we've got Galatasaray first and we have to take care of that before we start worrying about what's next. Joseph said, "Hey Craig, we really miss WIRTZ. When we don't have him. Think he was that was shown against Forest. Totally agree, Joseph. Totally agree. And it is crazy, isn't it, that one player being out already makes such a difference. There was a stat doing the round somewhere about the games we've lost when he hasn't been available, and it was kind of worrying, to be honest with you. But the more worrying thing for me at the minute, Joseph, mate, is we just don't know when he's going to be back. And honestly, didn't think this was going to be an issue this week. Thought he, pulled something in his back, bit of a strain, few days, ice pack, bit of massage therapy, bit of heat therapy or whatever, and he would have been back. But no, unfortunately not. And it is a bit frustrating because it's not the first time we've heard that it was something minor, which kind of drags out to be something bigger for us. Right, our poll is up, by the way, if you want to vote on the goalkeeper situation. We're let it go a little bit longer. We've just gone over the 1,000. In fact, you know what? I feel we'll let it there because it's pretty straightforward. So, should Georgie be getting more minutes? Yes, no, or unsure? Yes was 63%, no 22%, unsure 15%. I want to ask you about the Champions League draw now, so bear with me. Okay. Okay, nearly there. Actually, I'm going to do all these again because... okay. 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 Right, so how far will we go in the Champions League? Last 16, quarter-final, semi-final, or final/winner? Let us know and we'll get back to that poll. So how far will we go in the Champions League now that you've seen the draw? Last 16, quarter-final, semi-final, or final/winner? I meant we were supposed to win last year. Ibu slip. What was your original comment? I think it was before that, Jaden, was it? No, I don't know what you meant by we were supposed to win last year, Ebu slip. I don't know what you mean, Jaden. Sorry, you've lost me on that one, bro. Which ex-Red is more popular, Diaz or Kelleher? For me, Kelleher, but I'm Irish, so I would say that. For the chat, I'd probably say if you put it to a poll, it was probably Diaz, but I don't know. So Kelleher's kind of that unspoken, solid fella that just goes about his business. Not much fanfare about him, just, straight like a bit of a Connor Crosby, dare we say it. Just, goes about his work in a good professional manner. Saunders said, other side just as hard, Atleti, Barca, Arsenal. Mate, it's nowhere near just as hard. There's 31 Champions League or European Cup winning trophies on the left side of the draw, and there's 5 on the right side of the draw, and every one of them are Barcelona's. That is nowhere near as hard a side of the draw. Not at all. Atleti, Spurs, Barca or Newcastle. They're all winnable games. And then you've got Bodo Glimt, Sporting Lisbon, Bayer Leverkusen and Arsenal. That is nowhere near comparable to our side of the draw, in my opinion, with Paris Saint-Germain, Chelsea, Galatasaray, Liverpool, Real Madrid, Man City, Bayern Munich and Atalanta. Come on now. Worried Mag, or Wearied Mag, or Mage, said, I hope Rio can get some of the games in the coming weeks because he's a promising young footballer. If he can't get a game under Arnold, then he's losing confidence and will want to leave. Exactly. And it's not just him. We've seen Trent Doherty move today to Molde, and we'll talk about that in a moment, but we've already seen young Joshua Abe, and his future's up in the air. And it's starting to become a worrying thing. Are Liverpool just not showing a pathway through? Now look, Joshua Abe's 15. There's no pathway yet for him. But ultimately, it is a concern for me. Because you're right, Rio has shown every time he's been dropped in that he's more than good enough. That he's absolutely up to the level required. So if the manager doesn't start him and Cody Gakpo and Mohamed Salah are, nowhere near the level that they would want to be at, I don't know what to say. It's a worrying thing. PSG brother Ebu slip and Dom mix up Dembele's tap in. Oh yeah. Sorry. Now I'm with you, Jaden. But look, you can look at it another way as well, Jaden, and say that Alisson had an absolute worldie over in Paris that, we should never really have left there with a 1-0 win, but it is what it is. Certainly when I looked at the draw, I was immediately motivated to think, right, we can put that wrong right in the quarterfinal against Paris Saint-Germain. Actually, maybe I'm being a bit unfair to Chelsea, but I do see PSG getting through that tie. I'd be happier if it was Chelsea because I consider that an easier game for Liverpool than PSG. Callum said, Craig, I think we win the FA Cup. Absolutely possible, my man. Absolutely possible. I guess the question comes, though, is the FA Cup win, if we do it, going to be enough to keep him in his job? So there's a few bits I want to run through tonight around the financials that were released by Liverpool today. But before we get into that, let's talk about Trent Doherty for a second, as he did complete that move today. So Liverpool FC Academy announced Trent Doherty has completed a permanent transfer to Molde subject to international clearance. And they go on to say everybody at Liverpool wishes him the best of luck in his future career. That said, though, Paul Joyce tweeted to say Liverpool winger Trent Doherty has joined Norwegian side Molde in a €750 million deal subject to international clearance. This is the interesting part, though. A buyback clause as well as a sell-on clause has been negotiated into the deal. That's something Liverpool have been doing quite a bit. But do we really think they're going to activate it? The only release clause right now that I think Liverpool may activate is Jarell Quansah's in a year's time. Other than that, I don't think there's one in Kelleher's deal, not that we've seen anyway. So, for me, I don't know if buyback clauses are justified because you're usually getting less of a transfer fee for them, but let's wait and see what happens with it. I mean, if he goes over to Molde, tears it up and starts playing really well, maybe Liverpool bring him back in for a season, see how he gets on. If they still don't think he's there, then maybe they sell him on again. I don't know. Uh, I don't know how is Alcathart. Let's be realistic. We'll win nothing this year. Even top five would be difficult. Top five should be fairly straightforward. It should be at this point. I mean, if you look at some of the fixtures that Chelsea have, there's some really difficult games in there. So I'd be quietly confident we'll pull away from them a little bit over the next month or so. United, look, they have plenty of winnable games and one game a week to take care of. So I think United will hold their place in the top five till the end of the season, and I think it's I think we should pull away from Chelsea in all honesty. But that means nothing to me as a fan. Champions League football is great, and you understand the importance of it, but it's not a trophy. So we want to win the Champions League. Did I say 750 million? You're getting carried away with yourself. 750 G's. My apologies. If it was 750 million, that'd be good business. I don't think any of us could complain about that, but yeah. Imagine, yeah. 750 million for Trent Doherty. Sorted. Go out there and just sign everybody. Yamal, all of them. Be grand. Sonder said, but weak teams won't progress anyway, in my opinion. We'd meet Atleti, Barca, and then Arsenal, which is just as difficult. Boda Sporting, we wouldn't meet, unfortunately. Look, honestly, I think the top side of the right hand side of the draw is a piece of piss. I don't rate Barcelona at all. That high line is just there to be, what's the word I'm looking for? Attacked. That's the kind word I'll use. So yeah, I don't see much fear on it. You know, this is going to be a very good chance for Arsenal to make their way to a Champions League final. And if they don't do it with that side of the draw, I don't know. Oh, is that true? Wolves 1-0 up? Oh, hello. Is that right, David? Yeah, 1-0. It was 0-0 just as I was coming on, but just in case you're wondering, there is actually a Premier League game on tonight. Wolves against Aston Villa. That meme guy said Aston Villa bottling. I said to you guys a week or two ago, I have a sneaky feeling Villa could be gotten at. You know, that's where I think we should be aiming for. Honestly, I think third place is where we should be aiming for in the Premier League this season, even with where we are now. I think third place is achievable. And that'll be a good rescue from where we were in the league. I would. If we finish up in third place this year, I'd definitely be happy enough with that as a league position. You want silverware on top of it, but it would be a good rescue act from where we were to get back to third place. Craig, who do you think's winning the Prem? City. I really do think it'll be City. Yeah, I just think I can smell the fear from Arsenal. It's radiating off them. It's emanating off them. It's clear as day. They are they're ready. They're bottle preamed, shall we say? I agree. Barcelona can score goals, but concede some too. Yes, should just look at the whatchamacallit, the Spanish Cup game against Atleti. They were absolutely rinsed with that high line. Absolutely rinsed. Sonder said United, Chelsea, and Liverpool fans should travel to every team who faces Villa and make sure the atmosphere is horrid so we can all be happy and make top five. Thoughts? I mean, look, it's expensive enough for fans to go to footy without having to take in opponents' games as well, but I think it's fair to say, Sonder, Villa's overachieved. That 11-game unbeaten run they went on, that 11-game winning run, actually, I think it was, that it kind of showed them up to be a bit better than they were. So I always felt like there would be some fall off from Aston Villa, but a matter was going to be how much. I just get the feeling all isn't great behind the scenes of Villa either. I think there's a few frustrations bubbling at that football club about the financials and about some players they've had to move on past. I wonder, is Emi Martinez settled? Obviously, the Harvey Elliott situation hasn't gone well. So yeah, I thought that they were primed to have a little wobble. So I think third place is achievable for Liverpool, Chelsea, and Manchester United right now if they're really looking up that league table and fancying it. Pokegood said, Craig, where do you think Liverpool are going to end up in the Champions League? I'm torn. I'm torn between quarter-final and semi-final. I do think we beat Galatasaray. Is I'm gonna push it and say semi-final. It depends on what version of us shows up in Paris, because I do think there will be an appetite to beat PSG. I think the players will be so up for that game. So I think I'm backing us to get through that if they beat Chelsea. Well, I think we may come unstuck with the second leg away from home against the Man City, Real Madrid, or Bayern Munich. So I'm going to say quarters or semis, but I'll push it to semis just to be ballsy. Why are the comments so quiet? They aren't really quiet at all, mate. If you want to see quiet, go the other night. The other night was quiet because the comments weren't working. Tonight, comments are coming through. Fine. Right, don't forget to vote in the poll if you haven't done so already. We're asking, how far will Liverpool go in this season's Champions League? Last 16, quarter-final, semi-final, or will we make it all the way to Budapest and perhaps win it? Right, I want to take you through to some of the financials announced by the club today. Gives us a bit of an understanding about where the club's at and the direction we're heading in. So I'm going to take a couple of little segments that I've pulled out of an article on The Athletic. Not on The Athletic, on The Echo, that I just wanted to run through with you to give you a bit of an understanding of some of the finances. So, the Reds reportedly earned just a fraction short of £175 million for winning the Premier League, with prize money consisting of UK and international broadcast payments, equal shares, commercial revenues and facility fees. As many of 30 of the 38 league games are also broadcast, which is reflected in the media revenue uptick. So Liverpool getting £175 million there for winning the Prem last year. They go on to say new partnerships with Japan Airlines, Engelbert Strauss, Lucasade and Swedish garden tools firm Husqvarna have all contributed to commercial revenue rising, while Liverpool also renewed their long-term standing deal with beer supplier Carlsberg, which after 42 years is the longest association of its kind in the Premier League. That accounting period, which runs through to May 31st, 2025, does not, however, include the club's 10-year agreement with kit suppliers Adidas, which officially began on August the 1st of last year. The partnership with the German giants is worth well in excess of £600 million for the club over the next decade and will be reflected in next year's results. But here's the very interesting part for me that I think you'll like. It's not really so much the financials, just more the appeal of Liverpool. According to respected TV, what would you call them? TV viewership company Nielsen, the American firm that measures media audience. There you go. That summed it up better. Liverpool had over 588 million cumulative global TV audience during this period, making them out as the most watched Premier League club across the 24-25 season. So just over 500 million people tuned in to watch Liverpool's games, meaning that they were the most watched Premier League club across 2024-25 season. That same source reports that the club's official website had 87 million visits in total across the campaign and reached over 200 million social media followers across all global and international accounts. This included 50 million Facebook followers, 47 million on Instagram, and 25 million TikTok subscribers. So as you can see, the Reds kind of grow in the commercial arm of the business there as well as the socials. Sonder said Isak back equals winning Champions League. People forget who he is. I mean, it's definitely a bonus, mate. I'm right there with you. I'm extremely optimistic when Isak gets back that we look a little bit different. Now, I'm not expecting him to come back in and immediately hit the ground running, but having him as available option for the manager is definitely a good thing for me. So, I'm excited by it. Look, I'm trying not to be pessimistic because there's a lot that has been frustrating this season and a lot that will probably continue to be frustrating this season. But ultimately, like I've said, I'm a Red and I want us to do well. AJ said Craig was Trent a big loss. Of course. Yeah, of course. I'd never deny it. You know, he's a very unique right back, isn't he? There's not many in world football that can do what Trent does. certainly for the relationship as well he had on the pitch with Mohamed Salah, and the fact that he was a born and bred Scouser. Yeah, big loss to the team, no denying it. But it was his decision ultimately. Certainly, there's an argument there about the club taking too long or allowing the contract situation to go too long. But it is what it is, unfortunately. And we've got Frimpong. He's back available, which is good news. Obviously, we've no Conor Bradley, which isn't great news. But hopefully, Jeremy can stay fit. When is WIRTZ back? Nobody knows. No, even the manager, mate. I was reading out his comments earlier on. His exact words were, "I don't expect Florian to be available. That's a disappointment, of course, and some things I didn't expect after last week. At this moment in time, I don't know how long he's out for." That's all I can really say to you, my friend. We don't know when he's back. Didn't expect him to be missing for this one, because we heard he just pulled up with a little twinge in his back. So yeah, this is a bit of a surprise that he's out. Speaking about WIRTZ, actually, he's been talking a little bit. He's been speaking about Lionel Messi. He said, "You definitely can't compare me to Messi because he's on a completely different level. There's never been anybody as good as he is. That's why I like looking up to him." Speaking about Jurgen Klopp, he said he's definitely a true legend and people are still celebrating him at Liverpool, as they should. Who's starting then? I've already done my team. This is what I go with. I've done a rejigged my predicted 11. So yeah, my team for the game against West Ham: Alisson in goal, Gomez at right back, Kirkes at left back, centre back pairing of Kanade and Van Dijk, midfield of Gravenberch, McAllister and Szoboszlai. I would then put Rio on the left, Mohamed Salah on the right, and Hugo Ekitike through the middle. So yeah, that's the 11 that I would go with. The original predicted 11 I had did have Florian Wirtz in the team because we expected him to be back. But yeah, Trent was shite, not going to lie. Well, you just have lied. So, your words mean nothing. Trent was shite, not going to lie. Also, here's Trent and all the records he broke. I mean, just stop being facetious, mate. There's nothing about Trent that was shit. Sorry, it's just nonsense. 60s Red said, "Our suits need to be better with sorting contract extensions out. Seems like every year we have a contract dilemma." Yes, it's getting worse as well. Like this summer, we know that Canade's contract's up. I mean, our Robbo's contract's up. That's up at the end of the season. Then we have 1 year left on Alisson, 1 year left on Curtis Jones, and something's going to have to happen there as well. So it's... Yeah, I don't disagree, mate. I don't understand why they're letting them go this long. I really don't. Even WIRTZ seemed to have been surprised with how late they let his one go. Craig, I can smell your expensive aftershave from here. I don't wear aftershave. Genuinely, I don't. I'm such a chav that Lynx Africa does me the finest, mate. I think I have a couple of bottles of Sauvage around somewhere or something, but I truly don't wear aftershave. Who's been the worst player this season? Oh, God. Who's been the worst player? For us, I can already see everybody will be saying Gakpo, Gakpo, Gakpo. That'll probably be the answer that you'll see appearing in the chat. But for me, who would I say has been the worst this season? Maka or Gakpo. I think Maka hasn't had a good season at all. Salah, I suppose it depends on what reason you think Salah's had a poor season. But I can understand people putting him in. I'd say Maka, Gakpo for me personally, but it depends what context you want, because there's other players, like somebody said Isak. Can't really argue against that because he hasn't done much for us, but again, how much of that is down to injuries or whatever, so I take that on board as well. If you're talking about players who've been playing regularly, which is the way I tried to take the question, I think, yeah, probably Gakpo and Maka for me. Joseph said, "Craig, Emery or Arteta? Shouldn't be a debate. One of my teachers is an Arsenal fan. Tried to argue Arteta was better." No, it's Emery. For me, absolutely Unai Emery. But I would be the first person to admit to you, mate, that I absolutely despise Mikel Arteta. I just don't like anything about the lad. I think he's false, fake, Just don't like him. Don't like him one bit. Don't like his brand of football. Don't like the way he gets his Arsenal players carrying on. I just think he's negative. His football is negative. Just don't like him. Did I mention I don't like him? Because I don't like him. And I have nothing but respect for Unai Emery. An incredible coach. Right, let's talk about Julian Nagelsmann for a minute if I can. Roger said there's nothing Salah's doing good this season. I don't really disagree with you, Roger. I don't. But I'm trying to maybe put some context into the one for Salah in my mind. Like, how much of a loss was Trent from behind him? How much is it because of a change of personnel in and around him? Then, of course, we have the Diogo situation, which, to be fair, could apply to any of the boys. AFCON. Oh, I get it. I do understand why somebody would put Salah down. I just think there's probably more context for Salah than there would be for McAllister or Gakpo. Gakpo, you know, he's had more game time, more opportunities to shine, and he hasn't done it. So, yeah. But again, appreciate where you're coming from on it. So, Anfield Watch, they've said, Julian Nagelsmann is reportedly interested in a move to the Premier League, and they asked, would you bring him to Liverpool? So, what are we saying, folks? Julian Nagelsmann. If Arne got the boot in the summer, would you take Julian Nagelsmann as the next Liverpool coach? Let's say, for instance, the club didn't want to go down the Alonso route. Just looking at him as a manager, would you be happy with Julian Nagelsmann? I'm kind of unsure because brand of football-wise, I think it would be suitable to what we do. The way he sets up, the way he plays, the way he goes about playing and setting up. Yeah, I can understand that. As a personality, I don't know all that much about him. One of the earliest memories I have of Julian Nagelsmann is coming with Hoffenheim to a Champions League playoff game against Liverpool and kind of just coming across as arrogant, but I don't know if that was just confidence to deflect from, you know, the pressure on his team. Didn't really pay too much attention when he was at Bayern Munich, in all honesty. And the German national team, I haven't really been overly blown away by when they've played. I kind of find them a little bit hit and miss. So for me, no, I would say no to Julian Nagelsmann, but I would say that my opinion on this one should be taken with a massive pinch of salt, because there would be people who would have far more information on Julian Nagelsmann than me. All I know is, formation-wise, the way he goes about playing, it could work at Liverpool, but with regards to how good he is as a tactician, as a man-manager, I really don't know the answer to that. I think Fabregas is a shout. I just don't think Fabregas comes to Liverpool. I don't. I think Fabregas ends up Barcelona, Arsenal, maybe Man City, potentially. If you're giving me, you know, free reign to go out there and pick, it would be Luis Enrique #1 for me. That will be top of the pile. And then I'd probably put in Alonso, because I don't really, for me anyway, what happened at Madrid doesn't reflect poorly on Alonso, in my opinion. So I would still hold him in high regard. And of course, he's got that connection with the Liverpool fans as well. Would be potentially a change of system, but I know Alonso was a bit more flexible than that than, say, Ruben Amorim was. Inzaghi is a great shout. Look, he's a great coach, but he's only gone over there. This is, what, year 1 for him over in Saudi? I just don't see them wanting to give up him yet. So I just don't think Inzaghi is possible at the moment. There is some talk that Al Hilal is an unhappy place, though, since Benzema's come in. So, yeah, maybe there's a bit of unrest behind the scenes. I don't know. XX Spider Sith said, for me, it's Xabi still. This team with Schlotterbeck or any senior centre-back is crying out for 3-4-3. So I don't see why we wouldn't want to try it when he's available and understands the culture. I'm fully on board with everything you've said there. I'm fully on board with giving him a try. I'm fully on board with bringing another centre-back and changing the system. For various reasons. I think our wing-backs would suit it. I think our 10s would suit it. Yeah. Jaden said, glad Gordon wants to come, but Newcastle price high. Here's an interesting one for you, right? And I'm not even joking, Jaden. there was a story doing the rounds yesterday about Anthony Gordon and Arsenal, right? And I shit you not, it was being priced at 75 million quid. Now, we've talked about Anthony Gordon here over the past couple of weeks on the channel quite a bit because there's been a fair few articles linking him to Liverpool. And the lowest price when our name was mentioned was 95 million, but it went up as high as 125 million. But then all of a sudden Arsenal could get him in these reports for 70, 75 million. Now, there was an interesting piece from, I think, was it Jonathan Liu last night on Back Pages Tonight, where he said basically that he thinks it would be the wrong move for Anthony Gordon to go to Arsenal because he wouldn't really have the freedom to be the attacking player that he'd want to be under Mikel Arteta. So he just doesn't think it would be a good fit for him. And I kind of understood where Jonathan was coming from with that one. Walski said, sorry, just joined. It's already been asked, but why is Slot the reason as to why MAMARDASHVILI wants to leave? Is it purely no game time? Well, all that we know is the game time part from the report, mate. It doesn't go into anything particular about Arne Slot. The report from Team Talk says, second choice Liverpool goalkeeper Georgi MAMARDASHVILI is seriously considering requesting to leave on loan in the summer. The giant Georgian is growing increasingly frustrated with life as understudy to Alisson Becker at Liverpool. Despite his reputation as one of Europe's most promising young goalkeepers, MAMARDASHVILI has found opportunities limited at Anfield. So, yeah. I mean, I remember when Georgie was being interviewed while still at Valencia, he was talking about coming in to be the number one and coming in to, fight for the place, but he hasn't really been given many opportunities to fight for the place. Even in the FA Cup, he got the first round, didn't get the second round. So I don't see how we're going to give him two more opportunities between now and the end of the season. Too many more opportunities, without an injury to Alisson. Because, we're getting into the point of the season now with a serious jeopardy on it. And that's not when you want to start dicking around with your goalkeeper and changing him. Ben Palmer said, I'd rather get a talent with a predetermined release clause, like Elise, no sense in letting Newcastle fleece us. So there is debate about that release clause, about Elise, when it's there, if it's there, and when it's triggerable. So, yeah, for me, I would say if you're looking at Michael Elise, you probably have to hang on another year, in my humble opinion, unless Bayern Munich were mad enough to maybe come after Cody Gakpo and, try to do some type of a deal with Elise, going the other direction. But what did Georgie expect with Alisson in front of him? I get that. That's the catch-22 in all of this, isn't it? You've got the best goalkeeper in the world, in my opinion, in front of you. Yeah, I guess what he may have expected was probably, let's say, a couple of games in the league phase of the Champions League. The two domestic cups, I'm sure he probably would have thought he'd get. And then maybe if Alisson picks up an injury, obviously he gets some game time there. But hasn't really panned out that way, has it? We did get some game time earlier on when Alisson had an injury. Then we went out of the League Cup, so that was the end of that, really. And the FA Cup, the manager went a different way against Brighton. So don't really see how he gets too many more opportunities between now and the end of the season. So, do vote in our Champions League poll, by the way. It's heading towards quite close to 1,000 votes. We're asking, how far will Liverpool go in this season's Champions League? So, tomorrow, ladies and gentlemen, very, very busy day on the channel. I'll be here at 1:45 for the watch-along. Then we'll have our match reaction, player ratings video. Then immediately I'm going straight into recording a podcast with Connor and Chris after that. And then I'll be back for the late night agenda tomorrow night as well. So we're going to have a really, really busy day. Just a reminder, if you want the full podcast episode, check it out on Spotify. We put clips up on YouTube. But if you're looking for the full podcast episode, it'll be up on Spotify. And yeah, lots of content coming out tomorrow. Also, want to remind you, you've only got 1 day left to enter. If you haven't entered our February giveaway, we're giving away a signed Jurgen Klopp frame shirt completely free. All you have to do to enter is scan the QR code below or use the link in the description for further details. Being brought to you thanks to our friends at the collectorscorner.co.uk. And a reminder, we're going to be giving something away every month in 2026 with thanks to the collectorscorner.co.uk, where you can get 20% off anything store-wide with our unique discount code Anfield Agenda 1. And again, thank you to our friends at the Collectors Corner. We gave away a signed Steven Gerrard shirt in January, signed Jurgen Klopp one in February. March is one. You're going to have to wait and see what that is, but there will be one every single month, completely free, as a little thank you to you guys for your continued support. Why did you stop posting the podcast fully on YouTube? Because splitting it was hurting its numbers, basically. That's the long and short of it. Connor said to me one day, I think we should just post it on YouTube, or excuse me, on Spotify, and put clips up on YouTube. And I understood where he was coming from with it. You know, it's if you split it across multiple platforms, you know, it can hurt it as a unique product, and we want to kind of keep that as a unique product. So, yeah, made sense to just keep it on Spotify. Craig, thoughts on Floyd returning the GOAT, in my opinion? Yeah, I would never class anybody who goes around beating up women as the GOAT personally, but thoughts on him coming back, that he's broke. That's it. I don't want to fucking see him fighting Manny. What age is he now? 49, something like that. No interest. Yeah. I mean, if it's on Netflix, I'm free. I'll probably turn that on and watch it. But yeah, it's just ridiculous. It's just embarrassing, quite frankly. I know he calls himself Money Mayweather, but there's only one reason you come back for these, and that's that you need the money. So I'd love to know how much he's pissed up against the wall, but yeah, no interest in it, in all honesty. Who's Floyd? Floyd Mayweather. Probably the greatest defensive boxer of my lifetime. He's an incredible fighting on the back foot, but I've no time for anybody who's domestic violence charges. Could we reintroduce the reserves league so players like Georgie and Rio, etc., get to play, if not in the first team? So I think Jurgen or his son, somebody in the Klopp family, I think, was involved in some project that was trying to set up a decent reserve league or underage league or something to get higher quality minutes into players on the fringes. I can't remember all the details of it, but it was something that we covered a little bit recently. But yeah, anything that gets more competitive games into reserve players, I would be all for. Because it's difficult, you know, especially with squads now as big as they are, Premier League clubs having so many promising youngsters coming through. Very difficult to keep everybody fresh, fit, and game time. So, yeah, anything that would add a little bit extra depth there in the football pyramids for the, you know, reserve players or the underage players, I think it should be explored. Jaden said, seems like Vincent Company and Bayern want every winger. Maybe. I don't know, mate. Yeah. I remember when they signed Diaz, I remember so many of the Bayern fans were pissed off, didn't want them. Another Premier League cast off is what they were saying. And now, sure, they love him because he's after going over there and tearing it up. That meme guy said, Craig, could you see Bastoni maybe wanting to leave due to the massive Inter Milan fall off and Italian football being in the dumpster? And would you take Bastoni at Liverpool? So, could I see him wanting to leave? I could see players wanting to leave Italian football, yes, because of the reasons that you've said. Big fall off, the money's not really there as much as it was. But in regards to Bastoni at Liverpool, I thought long and hard about this last week, and I think I covered it on one of the streams, but it would have to be a back three for Bastoni to play the left side of a back three. He's not aerially dominant enough to play as a back two for us, two centre backs. I just don't think it would work. As a back three, yes, and the back two, no. So for me, that's the only answer. If Alonso came in and we were going to play with three centre backs, then I'd have no issue with us going after Bastoni. But if we were going to continue to play with a back four, no, I don't think he would be a good fit because I just don't think he's anywhere near good enough in the air. You look at the aerial dual success rate of the likes of Canade and Virgil, it's ridiculous. Top three in the Premier League. On top of that, if you look at young Giovanni Leone, he's going to be an absolute monster aerially as well. 6'5", you'd imagine he's going to win a lot of his duels. Don't know all that much about Jeremy Jacquet in that regard, to be honest, as you know, I haven't watched all that much of him. But that's the one downside I would say with Bastoni. Obviously an incredibly good footballer, but he's getting on in age as well. So if he doesn't move somewhere big this summer, I don't know, will there be many more opportunities? Craig, you can only buy 2 players in the next window. Who are you getting? Oh, God. Um, Elliot Anderson and Anthony Gordon. Yeah, I don't know enough about Yan Diamonde, so Yan Diamonde could be the answer. But if I can only have 2, I'm bringing in Elliot Anderson and Anthony Gordon because we definitely need pace up top, and I like Elliot Anderson in the base of that midfield. I just think he's a bit more robust. Although Wharton would be a decent shout, I just think I don't know. Just lately I've kind of fallen down on the Elliot Anderson side of that debate. Who are you looking forward to getting in the summer? A DM. That's plain and simple. That's numero uno. And obviously want to know what the situation is with Canada as soon as possible because we need to know then whether we need to look at another centre back or not. Yeah, so a DM. That's the first name that should be on the tip of everyone's tongue for the summer signings. Jaden said, any update in Van de Ven to join or Diamonde? No, I don't think you're going to hear anything on the Van de Ven situation until we know what's going on at Spurs, whether they get relegated or not, which feels so weird to say out loud, by the way. So I don't know what's going to happen there. But Spurs have big issues. Like, financially, they're going to have big issues because they're not going to be in Europe next season by the looks of it unless they can pull a Champions League win out their arse. And with all due respect, I don't think they will. So then they're going to have some serious questions asked of, can they keep players on? Can they continue to increase the wage bill, which is something that they're looking to do? Obviously, they have that stadium as well and the cost of that. So I wonder, will there be a bit of an exodus from Spurs? Again, if they go down, definitely. But if not, I still think the likes of Van de Ven and that'll be looking around going, I want regular European football. I want to be challenging. Craig, we already have a DM. Who's Gravenberch? He's not a DM. Simple as that. He's been played as a DM, but he isn't a DM. And no, we don't have one. Gravenberch is a number 8 in my eyes and always will be. He was played as a number 6 and did a very good job there last year, but he's not a DM. And our deficiencies in that area have been shown up this year. We're way too easy through the middle. Now, you could say maybe that's down to us only utilising 2 midfielders with 4 forwards. Carragher wants us to add in an extra midfielder. I can see where he's coming from. But look, with all due respect to Ryan Gravenberch, I don't even think he'd describe himself as a number 6 or a DM. He was just very capable of playing in that position last year and did a great job for us. But yeah, he's not. He's more of a box-to-box number 8 than he is a defensive midfielder. Endo contract extension? No, God no. No. Yeah, I just don't see the sense of that. It just makes no sense to me whatsoever. Dave Sharple said, I'm still in on Diamonde if he can sort out his management situation. I think it will get sorted out, Dave. It's just, I guess the question is, will it be sorted out in time for a summer transfer? And that I don't know the answer to, but it's going to go to the Court of Arbitration for Sport. Rock Nation, obviously, his new agency. His old agency still thinking they have the commercial rights, so let's wait and see how it plays out. But I've started to watch bits of him, and I can understand what everyone's excited about. But yeah, like you said, we'll have to wait and see what happens there with his contract situation with his agency. Craig, you just be the manager. You don't want me managing Liverpool, mate. I don't want to be the guy that relegates Liverpool. I'm not a manager. I'd be all right for the motivation. Get me in there for the team talks and stuff. But tactically, no. You don't want me involved. What's the crack with the Wolves Villa games? It's still 1-0. 4 minutes of the 7 left. It's still 1-0 though in the game. I see a lot of Rodri-like traits in Anderson, more so than Wharton. I think Wharton is too similar to Gravenberch. Not that it's a bad thing, but we need that destructive defensive midfielder. That's kind of where my head's been at with it, Joseph. Weirdly, Wharton feels like the more probable signing, I would say. If Forest go down, maybe Anderson's gettable, but Manchester City also sniffing around him. Actually, do you know what? I want to give credit for a minute to the journalists that were on back pages last night on Sky. It was Henry Winter and it was Jonathan Liu, and they were both calling out this piss take of a situation with Manchester City and how it's gotten this long. It's 6 years now. 3 years since the case. It's ridiculous. And we're still waiting for the outcome of it. And I think there was something Stefan Borson said that there could be like 50 clubs waiting on this decision, looking at their legal avenues for maybe getting fucked out of trophies or missing European competitions or getting relegated. I mean, I keep saying it to you, but don't underestimate how big a Pandora's box this could be. And even when the charges come out, like let's say, just for argument's sake, tomorrow morning we woke up and all the charges stuck, it'll still be at least another year and a half. They're going to appeal. Whoever loses it will probably appeal. And then that'll drag on and on and on. And we're still going to be talking about this. It's an embarrassment. And, when Laporta, the president of Barcelona, comes out and says the Premier League are kind of taking the piss with it, I kind of don't disagree with him. It's, whether you think it's on the Premier League or it's a slow legal process in the UK, the fact it's dragging on this long is just an embarrassment. Wolves are such a strange club. Well, this is a Midlands derby, isn't it? So yeah, it's a bit of a derby in this one, Wolves, Aston Villa. So, there's bragging rights to play for as well as relegation fodder. Shay said Anderson most likely gone to City. Yeah, I reckon Rodri goes to Real Madrid and Anderson goes to City, Shay. That will be what I think happens there. Unless, of course, Manchester City get the charges that stick, and who knows what happens then. Rory Jennings interview with an expert last night. Rory Jennings, that's where that sentence should have stopped, Dave, because anything he has to say, I don't take seriously. He spoke with an expert that thinks City will win the case, otherwise it'll be open to too many lawsuits. See, that's just bullshit, quite frankly. Imagine coming out with a straight face as an expert and saying that, City will win it because there'll be too many legal challenges if they don't. Well, do you think that Liverpool, Manchester United, Chelsea and every other club watching on are just going to go, okay then? Well, okay, there's too many legal challenges, so we'll just let them away with it. No, they've got 19 other stakeholders there who all have a legal say in this and who all have a potential case in it. So I don't for 1 second buy into that bullshit of, they'll get away with it because it's too big of a pain in the arse. The credibility of English football is at stake here. This is it. Now, this is what happens when you let sovereign wealth funds buy football clubs. This is the outcome. They keep throwing money at it, 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 trying to basically bankrupt the Premier League. It's cost something like 2 billion quid, some fucking scandalous amount of money. And it just goes on and on and on and on and on and on and on, and here we are. It's absolute. I might be wrong on the 2 billion figure, by the way. I'm sure I heard it mentioned somewhere, but it's just an absolute piss take. Two 0 to Wolves, by the way. 2-0. So that's Villa in trouble. The wobble's starting. Wow, 2-0. So give us a look at this league table real quick. Bear with me 1 second. So if United go ahead of Villa, wow. If United win this weekend, they'll go ahead of Villa. And they're at home, I think, to Crystal Palace United, if my memory's right. Wow. So if we win, we're 3 points behind Villa. Third place is possible, boys. Third place is very possible now. Wow. Fair play. That's an interesting result, isn't it? 2-0 to Wolves. That definitely opens up third place as a possibility. James, where are you? Let me get your comment up. The expert was Stefan Borson. Yes, but I've heard Stefan Borson say, and I'm not trying to be smart, about 9 different things on this. And all he is a financial expert, I believe. Let's wait and see. Because nobody really knows. Everyone can have an opinion, of course. And Stefan's entitled to an opinion. Rory's entitled to an opinion. I'm entitled to an opinion. You're entitled to an opinion. But ultimately, nobody knows. And the idea of let's just let them away with everything because it'll be too much of a headache, it doesn't really sit well, does it? Because I'm sure John W. Henry and the Glazers and the Cronkies, I'm sure they're all watching on, waiting. And certainly we know the likes of La Liga are watching on, waiting. So I don't think it's going to be as easy as, well, City win it because, nobody wants the hassle. That ship has sailed. We're here nearly 6 years into it. Top 4, here we come. It's defo on. Top 3 is on, like I said. Top 3, top 4, it's on. United go third, by the way, as I said, this weekend now. If they win, they'll go into third place in the league. Right, we asked you, how far will Liverpool go in the Champions League? We've had 1,275 votes, and the most voted for answer, ladies and gentlemen, is 35% of you thinking that the Reds will get to the quarter-finals of this season's Champions League. Final winner, 30%. Semi-final, 21%. Last 16. Come on. Who really, come on, folks. I understand the quarterfinals and semis. Who thinks we're going out to Galatasaray over 2 legs? Come on. Look, let me say this really clearly. If we go out against Galatasaray, we shouldn't finish that night without hearing he's fired. That would be ridiculous. If you can't get this Liverpool group past Galatasaray, you should be fired. And also, as I said before, this is what happens to the Premier League when they let sovereign funds buy football clubs, when they let nations buy football clubs. This is it, because they have the whole wealth of a nation that they can piss up against the wall fight in this case and bankrupt the Premier League or the clubs. And you let the wolf into the chicken coop. Now, this is what's happening. Let's say we buy a proper number 6. Who are we dropping in the midfield? I think we sell one, to be honest. I think we sell one. And then after that, it depends who we play. So I would imagine, let's say, just for argument's sake, we brought in Anderson. Some games, I would imagine the manager will want to play with, let's say, Anderson, Gravenberch, Szoboszlai. Then maybe in another day, he might want to play with Gravenberch, Szoboszlai, WIRTZ, or whomever. So I think it depends on the opposition. I wouldn't say it's going to be a case of this person comes in, this person goes. Sometimes Gravenberch will play, sometimes he won't. I do think we'll see a midfielder sacrificed this summer. I think we lose one of McAllister and Jones. That's my prediction about this summer. One of them goes, in my opinion. Would I take Osimhen? No, I wouldn't. Just don't. I think he's a good footballer. I do. And clearly the dude has something about him. He's strong. He's a physical presence. He knows where the goal is. But no, I just don't think he'd be a good fit for us or is what we need. We've got 2 very good strikers. And Jayden Dan's coming through as well. I did read somewhere, though, that in the deal that took him to Galatasaray, that if he goes to another team in Italy, Galatasaray would have to pay Napoli 60 million quid. So there was lots of talk of Juventus being in, and you've probably seen him not celebrating when he scored against Juventus the other night. So that'll be an interesting one to keep an eye on. Joseph said, here's a question for you, Craig. Do you think it matters how you win in football? You see, I'm an Allegri-esque person. I think winning is winning as long as the style is sustainable and it works. It's a really good question, Joseph. I feel like my gut response would be to say I'm with you, winning is winning. But I'm also around long enough to know that that's not human nature. You want to win, and then if you're used to winning, you want to win with style and panache and playing in a certain way. But if you offered me good football with no wins and done football with trophies, I'll take the dull football with trophies every day of the week. I'll put up with the frustration. Yeah, but it's a really interesting question because football fans they want to be entertained, and with expensive as expensive as footy is these days, fans paying a lot of money to go watch games. You want to be entertained, yeah. But ultimately, when we look back in the history books and we look back at the seasons and we say, right, Liverpool won the league in this year or won the FA Cup in this year, there's nothing beside it to say how you played. It just goes down in the history books as trophies won, and history's written by the victors. So yeah, I'm with you. I would take the pragmatic victory over maybe a kind of an up and down. That's why we were so spoiled with WIRTZ, because we kind of had a bit of both, right? We got trophies, we got success, we got a style of football that we could get on board with. And I think that's been the anticlimax this season. It's not like we're going out there and playing incredible, open, brilliant games of football. We've just meh. Yeah. So, I mean, look, here's another question. 1 second. So, will Slot be here next season? Just a simple yes or no. Now, you can give context to it however you like. If you think it depends on how he gets on at the rest of the season, let me know. I just get the feeling even he thinks he's gone in the summer. Just something about the way he carries on, the way he talks, the way the club aren't really, really backing him. They're saying they are, but they're not. They're not putting down the new contract. I just don't see a way he wins people back around. Even if he does deliver. If he wins the Champions League, yes, you can fire him. But that doesn't mean he shouldn't have been fired. I'm actually concerned that he's here next year. That's my worry, is that he's going to be here next year. My mate sent me this yesterday, and he said to me, Craig, this is fake, right? And I looked at it, I checked it out, and I came back and said, Jimbo, it's real. What I'm about to read out to you is real. What I'm about to read out to you is another example of Arne Slot being tone deaf and talking absolute garbage and embarrassing himself and us. Let me read it out. So Arne Slot, from the €450 million that we spent, I've only been able to use €250 million. Alexander Isak has never been fit so far. Giovanni Leone is ruled out the entire season. Frimpong has only impacted 5 and 6 games. We bought a second goalkeeper for €35 million who barely plays. So we haven't even used €250 million of the €450 million that we spent, while our rivals spent €200 million, €300 million, €400 million, adding players to their squad instead of replacing. He knows it's his fucking choice not to play Georgi MAMARDASHVILI, right? He knows that we didn't have to sign Isak in the summer, but everybody wanted it to happen, and he was definitely on board with it. We brought in Frimpong, and he's been injured now. Is there not a question to why is he getting injured, Arne? Is that not a question? Should this not have been something that was prevented a bit more or managed a bit better? Every time he opens his mouth, I find myself getting more and more angry and my arsehole getting tighter and tighter as I try to not smash the nearest thing to me. I can't listen to him. I can't fucking listen to him anymore. I just can't. Every time he opens his mouth, I find myself disliking him more and more. And I hate saying that. I hate saying that about the manager of our football club. But he is just a very, very unlikable man. I can't put it any other way. He just doesn't know when to shut the fuck up. He doesn't know what to say to be positive. It's always covering his own arse. That's it. All he cares about is some type of excuse that it isn't down to him. It's somebody else's fault. He's been unlucky. We haven't got to use the players we signed. Blah, blah, blah. And then he says, but I want a small squad. And then moans about it. I'm just done listening to him. And I even was talking with Connor about it earlier on, and he's the same. He says he just reads the press conference notes now. He just talks so much shit. It's embarrassing. Ben Palmer said, Slot is always trying to push a convenient narrative that makes himself look good. Unfortunately, he's bad at reading the room. His comments always backfiring him with the fans. And that, my friend, Sam, is exactly right. There's some easy wins that he doesn't take. You know? Instead of talking about the talent that you didn't get in that interview with Viaplay, why not just start talking about how excited you are about Rio? How there's still so much that we can achieve the rest of this season. Instead of saying, I didn't have as many toys as the other club's toys, and they brought players in, but we just replaced players. They brought out the squad, but we just replaced our players. I want more toys. Jurgen had more toys. Jurgen's toys didn't work, and Jurgen didn't get in trouble, but when my toys don't work, I get in lots of trouble. That's not fair. I'm as good as Jurgen. Why doesn't everybody love me? Love me! That's all I hear when he talks. That's pretty much exactly, that Charlie Brown, wah wah, wah wah, wah wah, wah wah. That's it for me. He just doesn't get it. He just fucking doesn't get it. The Night Script said, I still can't get over that cringe roundtable. It was a circle jerk. That's all that was. Not to be too crass about it, was a circle jerk. That's it. Let's all sit around the table and fucking pat each other on the back, tell each other how great we are, and let's not take a serious question. That round table should have been them answering questions from fans. That's what it should have been. Topics fans want discussed, answered. No, I know what, lads. This will calm them down. I've got it. Into the room, three of us, table, round table, softball questions. Bing bang bosh, job's a good one. Arnott, don't talk about your toys, mate. You just shut up. Here's a lollipop. The only thing Slot reads worse than a room is reading what's happened on a football pitch. I think we should find him every time he talks at this point. Because every time he talks, he's just pulling further and further away. Like, here, right? Genuinely. Thumbs up or thumbs down? Thumbs up if you think Arne Slot talks bollocks and his interviews and his presses are just ridiculous. Give me a thumbs up if you think that the man talks an absolute load of pony. Or give me a thumbs down if you're happy enough, And I'm not trying to say I'm right and you're wrong. If you do think it's good enough, maybe you just have a higher tolerance for bullshit than I do. I don't know. But for me, I'd rather take this thumb and stick it up my hole than listen to him talking in a press conference. I see a lot of thumbs up. Good. Because sometimes I wonder, am I just negative? And I know I can be, but I'm glad. I'm glad to see that I'm not going insane. That he just doesn't get it. Has anybody ever watched Key and Peele? Has anybody ever watched that show, Key and Peele? Comedy sketch, two brilliant comedians. And then you probably know where I'm going with this, right? So if you've watched Key and Peele, you will see Luther, which was Barack Obama's anger translator. I should be given that role for Arne. Every time he goes into a press conference and starts talking bollocks, I should tap him on the shoulder and translate it into what the Liverpool fans want to hear. Job done. Simples. We need a Luther. We need an anger translator for Arne. That every time he talks absolute bollocks, somebody pops up behind him and starts talking sense. I can do that job, Liverpool, no problem. So this feels horrible to say as a Liverpool fan, but I don't like our manager. Sorry, I don't. Yeah, I don't like our manager, and I take no pleasure in saying it. I think he's a decent tactician, but I just don't like him as on a personal level. I just don't connect with him, and he just rubs me up the wrong way. Somebody said, Craig, can you tell me what he said? Certainly. He said, from the 450 million euro that we spent, I've only been able to use about 250 million euro. Alexander Isak has never been fit so far. Giovanni Leone is ruled out for the entire season. Frimpong has only had an impact in 5 or 6 games. We bought a second goalkeeper for 35 million quid who barely plays. So we haven't even used 250 million euro of the 450 million euro that we spent, while our rivals spent 200 million, 300 million, 400 million in adding players to their squad instead of replacing. Now, here's one for you. Imagine you're Georgie MAMARDASHVILI, Jeremy Frimpong, or Isak, or Leone, sitting there hearing this Omadon saying that, well, these guys have been next to fucking useless for us. Georgie, sure, we spent the money and I don't play him, so what's the point? Isak, he's always injured. Frimpong, he's only had 5 or 6 games where he's mattered this season. Are you for fucking real? Are you actually for real, Arna? You're going to say that out loud to a camera in front of the fucking world? Here, just get the bus back. Bring back the bus, because Arna needs to drive it over somebody again. My fucking God. Here's an idea then. I don't know. Maybe don't look at buying a player who's potentially injury prone like Isak and you knew wouldn't be available for half the season. Maybe play Georgie MAMARDASHVILI a little more, because it's your decision to play him or not. Maybe ask why Frimpong has gone from being no injuries to injuries galore now. Maybe ask why and all of these things. And also, shut the fuck up about the squad size. You want a small squad. And now he's moaning that others are building out their squads. But at the start of the season, he wanted a small squad. He liked a small squad. Right, sorry. Let me get this under Super Chat. If we let an 18-year-old Liverpool fan named Mane, who is absolutely class, go elsewhere, can't happen. Slot is immune to responsibility. Everything is wrong, apparently. So, the young Mane guy, I would say, whatever happens, I'd give him 1 more year with Wolves. Even if we were to do a deal, I'd still say keep him at Wolves for another year, let him develop, let him play football, whether that's in the Championship or wherever. Let him to continue developing there where he's comfortable. Obviously, came through that pathway. Yeah, I would say leave him there. But I get where you're coming from. And the good news is that he is somebody on Liverpool's radar. Sean said, Craig, here for you, mate, in your weight loss journey. That's so kind if you do. Thank you. You really means a lot. Thank you. Look, I've looked around. I've seen some of the others doing really well. Like True Geordie lost some weight. Liverpool content creator Jonathan Morley, he looked brilliant. Lost some weight as well. Fair play to him. Obviously Chunks we've seen lost weight. So yeah, my fat ass needs to get the finger out when I come back from my holiday and yeah, get stuck into the process, mate. But I hope to make you all proud. I hope when we're talking in 6 months or a year's time, there's a bit less of me. This is going to sound weird, but it's part of my autism. I spent time yesterday desensitizing myself out in the studio. Now, that probably makes no sense to you, right? But for me, moving into a new environment to work or to do anything, I have to ease my way into it. So I have to go out there and expose myself, naughty people, to the new environment. So I sat out there, played a bit of darts and sat behind the desk for a while last night, just getting used to the environment, getting used to new surroundings. It just takes me a little bit of time, so I know people are excited to see the studio and stuff like that, which I'm excited as well. But I want to make sure I'm fully comfortable before we get going, because even the slightest change in my routine it throws me off. Like if I come to work, my work desk, and something's out of place or something new is on it, even a simple thing like that takes me so long to get used to. Like so. Slot has gone prime Rogers, talking Brentish BS. Yeah, he's only short of pulling out 3 envelopes, isn't he? And saying, I've got the name of the person who's going to let us down this season in one of these envelopes. Biggie Mall said, and how did it feel? Be honest. This is embarrassing. Like, how did it feel? Overwhelming in a good way. I cried. Yeah, it's the first time I actually sat behind the new desk at the table, taking in what will be my view for the future. And yeah, I shed a little tear of happiness because it's been an incredible journey from Adidas shoe boxes with a computer sitting on top of them to building a studio in the back garden. Yeah, but you know, it's your studio. It's not my studio. It's your studio. You know, without you guys and without your support of the channel, there's no need for any of that. So, yeah, looking forward to it. But yeah, it was a bit emotional in a good way. I find as I'm getting older, I'm getting more emotional as well, or sentimental. Slot is an asshole, said Dave. Treating players and fans terrible. New studio, new manager. Boom. Well, the dartboard went up. She's fully up now. And I threw my first 3 darts. Anybody want to guess my score for my first 3 darts on the dartboard? Because, yeah, I was quite proud of it. I even made sure Sabrina took note of the score just to make sure, you know. I'll show you a little picture of it. 1 sec. There you go. There's the Anfield Agenda dartboard. 126. No, none of you got it. 180. I wish. My I was gonna say my girlfriend. My daughter's boyfriend. He wired a 180 yesterday when we were practicing out there. Hit the first 2 and then wired the other one. No, my score was 94. 94 was my first 3 darts. But I'll admit that the 94, the treble 18 was aimed at the 20. You know, that was a complete accident. It went in to the treble 18. But yeah, 94 was the first 3 darts. Now I'll take it. But like I said, if I'm being honest about it, I was aiming for the 20. Ben said, cool door, very modern. Actually, on that, do you know something about the door? There's something very unique about my door. Can anybody tell me what it is? It's, yeah. There's something unique about that door. And I'll see if you can tell me what it is. Handle on the wrong side. You're sort of right, Oliver. It opens the wrong way. Most doors open towards the short wall. So most doors you go into opens towards the nearest wall to it. Mine doesn't. Mine opens inwards. Now, the reason it opens inwards is because of the dartboard. I knew when we were building the studio that the dartboard was going to go up, and I knew where it was going to go. So I told the builder to put the door on this way. So when we ordered it, we made sure we ordered it that way. So that way, Lee said you fit through it. Cheers, Lee. That's really nice. Thanks for that, mate. Yes, I'm fat. I get it. So yeah, that way it opens in. So if my wife or somebody's coming in, they don't get hit in the head with a dart. They get the door instead of a dart. So saving their heads, basically, you know. Can we keep doing this till we're all 80 years old? No, I don't know, mate. Don't think I can get to 80. I hit 3 180s tonight in a 10-4 win. Fair play. That's class, man. Yeah, that's class. Well done, you. Gecko's Cool said, "Hey Craig, mate, you've looked incredible last few years. The change is incredible in your personality and looks. You're a great man. Don't listen." Thank you, bro. You're very kind. My lounge door does that. Yeah, I just thought it was the right thing because the door opening in. The last thing I wanted was my son or somebody to come in, and I'm here flinging darts, and one of them catches a dart in the head. So yeah, I knew what I was doing when we were setting it up. Everybody looked at me like I was mad until the dartboard went up, and then they went, "Oh, now I see why the door goes that way." Did I hear you're going on holiday? Yes, we're going away next month. We're going away international break time. We're going over to Lanzarote for a week. So yeah, really excited by that. Really excited by it. Last holiday we had in October, it wasn't a holiday. We had to come home early because I got injured. And I had to come back to get physio and stuff like that so I could do my show in Liverpool. So we cancelled a few days of that and we're back early. And yeah, it wasn't a holiday because I was in agony the whole week. Right, Keno, what have you sent me? So, quote from Florian WIRTZ. He said, "I think now I'm already in a better position than I was at the start because I think I got a bit stronger. I spent a lot of time in the gym, but also duels on the pitch in training, the extra work after training, that's helping me." I think we'll all agree Florian WIRTZ is definitely improved and going from strength to strength, but fingers crossed he's back soon. Can you pick me up some fake footy shirts while you're over there? I'm just trying to think if we ever got any of the black ones over there. I know my daughter or my son went to a market one day, but I don't know is the honest answer if we haven't seen any. Baz Wookie said, "Lanzarote's fab, Puerto de Carmen 150 a point." There you go. We're going to Playa Blanca, so the other end of Lanzarote. Yeah, I've been to Puerto de Carmen a few times, but we've gone to Playa Blanca the last few times we've gone over. How much can I bench press? I really don't know, mate. I don't know. I haven't lifted weights in quite a long time, so I really wouldn't have a clue. When is the embargo session? Well, if there is any embargo transfers, or excuse me, presser stuff, they usually come out after 10 o'clock. Somewhere between 10 and half 10, the embargoed stuff usually comes out. XX Spider said, "I got a Bars one there when I was a kid. Looking nowadays, terrible replica, but I only had 10-year pocket money." Hey, it is what it is, my man. Nothing wrong with it. If it's good for you, you enjoyed it, it was comfortable, happy days. Right, quick reminder, ladies and gentlemen, don't forget to enter our giveaway. We're announcing the winner after the West Ham game tomorrow. So in the match reaction, we'll be announcing the winner of this signed and framed Jurgen Klopp shirt. And then, of course, we'll have another item that will be given away in March with thanks to our friends at thecollectorscorner.co.uk. I bought myself another something from thecollectorscorner.co.uk, by the way. I was a bold boy. I ordered myself something else. I got myself a Robbie Keane signed LA Galaxy shirt in a frame to go in the house. The reason why I got the signed Robbie Keane LA Galaxy shirt was a bit of a shithouse reason, but I know why I got it. Craig, would you keep Slot if we won the FA Cup but lost Champions League final? I wouldn't want to keep him one way or the other, mate. Honestly, whatever happens, I want him fired. I can't get away from that. But if you win a Champions League, I don't think you can fire him. So I expect that if he wins a Champions League, he wouldn't be. But if he won an FA Cup and got to a Champions League final, I dare say the club would probably keep him at that point. I wouldn't, but I dare say the club probably would. Pokegood, good night to you, my friend. Who do I think will start at right back tomorrow? I hope it's Joe Gomez because, Frimpong's back now. So you could give Joe, let's say, 65 and then get Jeremy on for the last 25. So I would say stay Joe Gomez at right back, keep Szoboszlai in midfield, especially because we've got no WIRTZ. The last thing we need to do is shoehorn Szoboszlai into right back with no WIRTZ in the team as well. You seen the difference it made when we pushed Dom into midfield from right back against Forest in the second half. Looked better in that position. So yeah, that's what I would do. I'd put Gomez at right back and Jones on the bench. John Smith, Craig, I'm here for you as well. The weight loss journey. Thank you, bro. Appreciate it. Yeah, look, I know I've done it before. You know, I went for £103, like I said to you guys before. So I've done it before. It gets harder as you get older, but I got to do it. So when I get home from holidays, that's it. Head down, focus. Why did we let... Oh, that was gone. I was about to read it out and it's gone. I dread to hear what he has to say if we meet PSG. Yeah. I don't... Yeah. Nothing is what he should be saying. He should just gag him and send somebody else out for the presser. Much love, Craig. Awesome. Thank you, bro. Appreciate you. Silver Bear, thank you for your continued support, my friend. 16 months with us as a member. Absolute legend. Is there any serious chat or E-Slot on? The information, the latest information that I had, now this has gone back maybe 6-8 weeks, was that the plan was that he's gone bye-bye in the summer. That's... Now, I dare say if you even did a straw poll with Liverpool fans, most people would want him gone. But let's wait and see. So, will Slot stay next year? That's the poll that we have running at the minute. We're going to leave that until we finish the stream at 10:45. So if you haven't voted on it, please do. We're asking, will Arne be here next season? Right. Let me run you through the news stories in case you're coming in a little bit late or perhaps haven't seen them. And there's a few things I haven't touched on yet. So bear with me here. So I want to get your thoughts on this one from Gus Poyet. Gus Poyet believes that Liverpool need a Makelele-style player who can strengthen their core, and Fede Valverde could be a great fit. What do we think? Empire of the Cop wrote that luring him from Real Madrid would be a tall order, but could he be the type of player Liverpool may target in future transfer windows? I am a big Fede Valverde fan and would love him at Liverpool. Do I see it happening? No. But would I take him? Absolutely. I think he's a wonderful footballer. Also, Lewis Steele said Joe Gomez had offers from clubs at home and abroad in the summer, but stayed due to Liverpool's lack of defensive numbers. If he were keen on a move this summer, the club would not stand in his way. Then we had Cody Gakpo, who's closing in on 50 Liverpool goals. He said, I need 2 more. Yeah, it's always nice to reach certain amounts, and I think 50 goals is an amount that counts in some way, so yes, that would be nice. Then we had the Arne Slot comments that, as I said, were frustrating to say the least. He said, from the €450 million spent, I've only been able to use €250 million. Alexander Isak has never been fit so far. Giovanni Leone is ruled out for the entire season. Frimpong has only had an impact in 5 or 6 games. We bought a second goalkeeper for €35 million who barely plays. So we haven't even used €250 million of the €450 million that we spent, while our rivals spent €200, €300, €400 million in adding players to their squad instead of replacing. Then we had a report coming out from Liverpool Extra who credit, I believe this is a Brazilian outlet. They say Liverpool are watching 17-year-old winger Gabriel Mek very closely. Has also recently broken into the first team setup at Grêmio and is now seen as one of the best emerging talents in Brazil. The Premier League champions may make a summer bid, and they credit an account that's at PD Gremista. So PD Gremista, Gremista. Gabriel Mek is somebody had been linked with us previously, actually gone back a few months. So we'll keep an eye on this one and let you know if there's anything more on it. Let's talk for a minute, folks, about Chelsea taking the piss financially. Have you seen this in The Guardian? Chelsea made a financial loss of £355 million in the 24-25 season alone. They lost £355 million in the 24-25 season, according to new data released by UEFA. The biggest deficit ever recorded by an English football club. I think their contract spending has been something like 1.9 billion since Bowley and co have taken over there at Chelsea. They've spent, now I don't know what their net is on it. I think they've obviously recouped some money, but £1.9 billion. Then we had a report from Anfield Watch that said Julian Nagelsmann is reportedly interested in a move to the Premier League, and they ask, would you take him at Liverpool? Then we discussed the Champions League draw that obviously sees Liverpool against Galatasaray, knowing that the quarterfinal, should we get through, would be against Paris Saint-Germain or Chelsea. The bottom half of our side of the draw features Real Madrid taking on Manchester City, then Atalanta versus Bayern Munich. On the opposite side of the draw, meaning we can't face any of these teams until the final if we get there, Newcastle have Barcelona, Atletico Madrid have Spurs, Bodo Glimt have Sporting Lisbon, and then Bayer Leverkusen take on Arsenal. The dates for our games against Galatasaray have also been confirmed. The away leg will take place in Istanbul on Tuesday the 10th of March. It is a 5:45 p.m. kickoff UK Irish time. Then the return leg will be Wednesday the 18th of March at Anfield on an 8 p.m. kickoff. We also brought news tonight of Trent Doherty completing a permanent transfer to Molde, subject to international clearance. The LFC Academy account posted to say everybody at Liverpool wishes him the best of luck in his future career. Paul Joyce then said that the deal is worth €750 million. No, I did this again. That's the second time I've done that, isn't it? €750,000. I'm going to have to go full Dr. Evil here in a minute. €750,000 subject to international clearance, and a buyback clause as well as a sell-on clause has been negotiated into the deal. Then we had Arne Slot confirming that Frimpong is back, but WIRTZ is out for West Ham. He said Liverpool boss Jeremy Frimpong is back, available for Saturday's Premier League game. Frimpong's been sidelined for the past month with a hamstring injury, but has returned to training. That will be a relief for Liverpool manager, who has to look for alternatives at right back, with Conor Bradley also injured. Quoting Arne Slot then, he said, Jeremy trained with us a few times this week, so he's available. However, there was less positive news on Florian Wirtz, who limped out of the warm-up against Nottingham Forest last weekend. Arne Slot said he doesn't know when the player will be back, saying, I don't expect Florian to be available. That's a disappointment, of course, and something I didn't expect after last week. At this moment in time, I don't know how long he's out for. Then we went to the story from Team Talk, where they said second choice Liverpool goalkeeper Georgi MAMARDASHVILI is seriously considering requesting to leave on loan this summer. The giant Georgian is growing increasingly frustrated with life as an understudied Alisson Becker at Liverpool. Despite his reputation as one of Europe's most promising young goalkeepers, MAMARDASHVILI has found opportunities limited at Anfield. Then we brought you a couple of quotes from Florian Wirtz. One of them was that you definitely can't compare me to Lionel Messi because he's on a completely different level. There's never been anybody as good as he is. That's why I looked up to him. Florian Wirtz about Jurgen Klopp said he's definitely a true legend. People are celebrating him here. Then we talked about some of the financial report that Liverpool released. I think it was yesterday or today. I can't remember. It was one of the 2 days anyway. Recently, Liverpool released these. The Reds reportedly earned just shy of £175 million for winning the Premier League, with prize money consisting of UK and international broadcast payments, equal shares, commercial revenues and facility fees. As many as 30 of the Reds' 38 league games were also broadcast on TV, which is reflected in the media revenue uptick. They went on to say that new partnerships with Japan Airlines, Engelbert Strauss, Lucasade and Swedish garden tools firm Husqvarna all contributed to commercial revenue rising, while Liverpool also renewed their long-standing deal with beer supplier Carlsberg, which after 42 years is the longest association of its kind in the Premier League. The accounting period runs through to May 31st, 2025, does not, however, include the club's 10-year agreement with kit suppliers Adidas, officially begin on the 1st of August last year. That partnership with the German giants is worth well in excess of £600 million. And then they finish up by saying, according to the respected Nielsen, the American firm that measures media audience, Liverpool had over 588 million global TV audience during last season, making them the most watched Premier League club across the 24-25 season. The same report suggests that Liverpool's club website had 87 million visits in total and reached over 200 million accounts on social media. This included 50 million on TikTok, 47 million followers on 50 million on Facebook, 47 million followers on Instagram and 25 million on TikTok. So that is pretty much everything that we've covered this evening so far. New Arna comments from Anfield sector now. Thank you very much. I think Keno has just sent them on to me. Very kind of you, Keen. Let me run through them for you. 1 sec. So, Arne Slot asked to clarify his comments on Viaplay on how Liverpool have not been able to use half of his £450 million signings this summer. This is what Arne said. He said, not being able to spend half the 450 million spent. Are you saying you want fans, pundits to be more understanding of that when discussing the spend? And Arne said, that's exactly what I mean. I've tried 450 times to say we also sold for 300 million. That never comes across and people never talk about it. In general, I only ever see 450 million spent, 450, 450, 450, and nobody looking at the circumstances, which are that the 450 million is very well spent, very, very well spent. One more time, very well spent. They're great football players, which will be a big, big, big success for the club. Some already now and some in the future. The reality of this season is we sold for 300 million. Some starters like Trent were sold for only 10 million. We had to recoup the money with players from that spent. Then 250 million of it. Alex has not been Alex of Newcastle, maybe 20 minutes at Tottenham. I don't criticise him because we signed him for 6 years, not 6 months. Georgie, we needed him because Creeveen left. We hardly played with 2 goalkeepers. Jeremy has been many times injured. Giovanni out for the season. Tomorrow I'll miss out on Florian. Him and Hugo and Milos need time to adapt. So basically Arna's just bitching again. And it's like nobody Arna 450 million. Nobody Arna 450 million. We all know you want to include the money we sold Arna because you never shut up banging on about it. But how about, I don't know, being better on the pitch? How about coaching them better? How about shutting the fuck up and doing your job? Because you were bestowed with more money than any Liverpool manager in the history of this football club in one window and you've shit the bed. So cry arson about it. Moan trying to just absolve yourself of responsibility is an embarrassment. And it's not befitting of the Liverpool manager. I wish he'd just shut up. I really, really wish he'd just shut up. Because every time he talks, it's just getting worse. On Rio Engamoa, this is what he had to say. Let's be clear, he is a special player that will have more playing time and already more recently. But for a player playing for the under-19 team of England, if everybody thinks he is so good, he trails off, so not sure what he's trying to say. That's Lewis Steele reporting that. Let me just read this out. And a fucking journalist is confused by what Arna's trying to say. Just let that sink in for a second. Arna on Rio Engamoa. Let's be clear, he's a special player that will have more playing time and already has more recently. But for a player playing for the under-19 team of England, if everybody thinks he's so good, ... then open brackets, Lewis Steele said he trails off, so not sure what he's trying to say. That's the manager. Journalists don't even know what he's actually trying to say because he just rambles on. That's absolutely brilliant, Arna. Well done there. Alison Becker, speaking about Dominic Szoboszlai, said Dominic Szoboszlai is up there with everybody. It's incredible what he does with the ball from a free kick. He has the ability to shoot very strongly. He has good aim. I really just don't get... I just don't get Arna. I just don't get what he's trying to do. Arne Slot is planning to give Rio more opportunities to impress and believes the teenage winger's special quality in one-on-one duels could help Liverpool finish the season strongly. I wish they'd just stop. Just stop. He just... I want to read this again because I kind of stumbled through it, but I want to read it more slowly. So, talking about the 450 million quid and his comments with Viaplay, he was asked, are you saying you want fans and pundits to be more understanding of that when discussing the spend? Arne said, that's exactly what I mean. I've tried 450 times to say we also sold for 300 million. That never comes across and people never talk about it. In general, I only ever see 450 million spent, 450, 450, 450, and so nobody looks at the circumstances, which are the 450 is very, very well spent, very, very, very well spent. One more time, very well spent. Does he think we're all fucking idiots? Honestly, that he has to keep going on about it. Anyway, let me keep going. He said, there are great football players which will be a big, big, big success for this club. Some already, now, and some in the future. The reality of the season is we sold for 300 million. Some starters like Trent sold for only 10 million. We had to recoup the money with players. From that spent, then 250 of it, Alex has not been the Alex of Newcastle, maybe 20 minutes at Tottenham. I don't criticise him because we signed him for 6 years and not 6 months. But you have just criticised him, you fucking idiot. You've just said that he's been useless to you. You said it in the Viaplay interview and you've doubled down on it. Goes on to say, Georgie, we needed him because Queeveen left, but he hardly played with two goalkeepers. Jeremy has been many times injured. Giovanni out for the season. Tomorrow I'll miss out on Florian. Him and Hugo, Milos need time to adapt. He really just needs to stop talking. Here's the thing though. Whenever anybody talks about money, whether it's Arsenal, Liverpool, Manchester United, the biggest number is always the one mentioned. But he feels like this isn't somehow just always a dig at Liverpool. He doesn't understand that this was such a unique summer because Liverpool don't really spend this much money. And yes, a lot of it was recouped. We're all aware of it because he said it 450 times, like he said, but it doesn't take away from the fact that he's made a good team worse. And the injuries, well, that's sort of on him as well. He's got to figure that out. I don't understand how he thinks nobody knows we sold players. When you talk about net spending, or spending, for transfers, it's always the bigger numbers. It doesn't matter who you're talking about. Arsenal, City, Liverpool, doesn't matter. The big numbers are always the ones mentioned. But he thinks somehow the media just have it in for old Liverpool. The poor old Arna had 450 million to spend, ... and nobody else gets questioned about it. He just needs to shut up. Adrian Wyden said, I have autism and an eating disorder. We can do it, Craig. Well, I'm sending you nothing but love, my friend. And I hope things go well for you. With regards to the autism part, I only found out at 35. It was actually after we got our son diagnosed. I was diagnosed with Asperger's and kind of started to make sense to me then, a lot of stuff in life. But it's not something that I would view as a negative in my makeup whatsoever. It's just part of what makes me me. And, it explained away a lot as well around anxiety and stuff that, that may be just the way I am. But sending you love, my friend, and absolutely we can do it. We absolutely will, bro. Arna has just killed morale. We lose tomorrow. See you next Tuesday, said Didinho. Yeah, like I said, Jones knows on Sky, who does all the predictions. He's backing West Ham to beat us tomorrow. Look, we've got a reason to win now. As well as the 3 points, Aston Villa lost. We can go within 3 points of them if we win tomorrow. Which makes, again, the race now for top 4 or 5 better, because now there's another team dragged into the mix. So you've got Liverpool, Aston Villa, Manchester United and Chelsea fighting for 3 places. And Villa getting dragged back into that race is a good thing for us. It means we've got, I'm throwing it around, but we've a 3 out of 4 chance to be in it. So I think we will. And if we don't beat West Ham tomorrow, he should be fired before he leaves Anfield. There's no two ways about it. If we lose that game to West Ham tomorrow or don't win it, he should be fired on the spot. It's absolutely unacceptable. And he said something a few weeks ago that he's absolutely right about. It isn't going to go away. Every time there's a poor run of games, every time the performances aren't what they should be, the fans are going to be up on his backs. And rightly so. Because this is his making, and he doesn't do anything to ease tensions, or he doesn't do anything to try and ingratiate himself to Liverpool fans. He just seems to want to keep sticking his foot in and making the gap bigger. Layla, how are you? Craig, how are you, bro? I'm all right, thank you, Layla. Thanks for fixing my mood and ignore the haters. I don't really get too many, to be fair. 99% of the people that come into the chat are lovely people, and I'm very grateful for their time. Hope your family is doing well. I'm Yasin, a big fan of your club. Liverpool 3, West Ham 1. Come on, the Reds. I went 2-0, Layla, in my prediction, mate. 2-0 was mine, but 2-0, yeah. If we win by 2, I'll be happy with that. 3-1, that'll do as well. I'd rather a clean sheet, though, but thank you and appreciate your support. Right, one more time before we finish up. This is my predicted 11 for tomorrow now that we know that WIRTZ is unavailable. So I've changed it up a little bit. I've gone Alisson in goal, right back Gomez, left back Kirkes, centre back Kanade and Van Dijk, a midfield trio of Gravenberch, McAllister and Szoboszlai. I would put Rio and Gamoa on the left, Mohamed Salah on the right, and Hugo Ekitike through the middle. So, ladies and gentlemen, again, don't forget, last chance to enter a giveaway to win that signed Jurgen Klopp shirt. We'll be here tomorrow at 1:45 to start the watch-along. We're going to have a watch-along, match reaction, player ratings video. Then myself, Connor and Chris are jumping on to record the podcast straight away. And we'll have a late night agenda tomorrow night as well. So lots of stuff coming up over the weekend. As always, thank you so much. If you can hit that like button for me before you head off. And if you haven't subscribed, would love you to do that as well. Let's just finish up our poll for the evening. Will Slot stay next season? 73% of people say no, and 27% say yes, that he will. So, ladies and gents, tomorrow, another big game for the Reds. West Ham United won't be on TV in the UK, but don't worry, it's all over here. I've got you covered. I'll be able to take you through the watch-along. As always, thank you so much for giving up a bit of your Friday night to come and have a chat with me. I missed you guys yesterday when we didn't get to have a stream, so I will see you tomorrow where we have lots and lots and lots of content to go through. Thank you, and thank you to Connor as well for this morning. Appreciate him jumping on and taking you guys through the draw. Appreciate you. Have a good one. Much love.